degrees and raining. Got a big storm come through yesterday, brought a cold front with it. So fortunately I'm not going to be riding today. I had some KLR content planned. If you're waiting on that content, stick in there. I've got something what I think is pretty good in the works. It's going to be hard to film. I'm going to have multiple camera angles and stuff, but it'll be a challenge for me. Probably be easy for some, but just hang in there. That's kind of what we did get though today. Actually, the other day is some parts for the KLX build. So I'll go through those real quick. We've got the Tusk wraparound hand guards. This is going to give us lever protection, hand protection while we're riding, and also it's going to help with bending, or not bending rather, the stock steel bars in case we go down pretty hard. And then we've got the Kawasaki green D-Flex guard to match. I like running these. It helps a lot with like briars and stuff hitting your hands and snagging on your gloves. A lot of guys don't run them, a lot of guys do run them. Teach their own, but I like them. And that entire set, I'm not going to bother with any links. Rocky Mountain's pretty easy to navigate website. That entire set was $39. So pretty cheap hand guard. I've ran it on more than one bike. I like them. Then here we've got the Tusk Handlebar Risers. These are the 30mm, which translates to like 1.25 inches, more or less. And comes with the hardware to install, nice sticker, and then 2 of the handlebar risers. So that's going to help with our ergonomics, getting the bars up enough. I'm short, so my knees aren't really in the bars on this bike, but they're close. So this is going to help with that. I believe these were like $17.99, maybe $20. So yeah, Rock's risers are nice. They allow you to rotate forward and back, which these do not. But for $20, these are hard to beat. It's also what I run on the KLR. And then the other things we had in our package was just a couple oil filters. We still got, I think, 4 hours until the break-in oil change needs to be done, but went ahead and picked up some of them in an effort to get free shipping. And then also some spare heavy-duty tubes. Got one for the back, one for the front, just in case we have a puncture while we're out on the trail riding. I'll have to wait when I get back home to, if we fix that, I'll have the tubes. So let's change the camera angle. Let's get some of this stuff installed. Alright, so it's time to pull the stock bars. Takes a 10mm. This procedure would be the same regardless of what bike you had. However, what size socket is used may not be. If you'll notice, we do have an hour meter on here. I'll show some pictures of that. I installed that off camera because I wanted to get that installed before I ever rode the bike. Another handy tool to have is this screwdriver handle that has the 1/4 inch drive in the back of it. That way, once you get things loosened up, you can just pull your socket straight off and really speeds things up. If you can find one of them, I recommend it. Alright, so we've got new bolt. It's an Allen head. It's metric number 6mm. And then here's the bar riser. It's got the bottom half shape of 7/8 bars profile in one side, and then a spot for the bars on the other. So before we actually throw both of them up here and install them, one thing you want to check, they do come with washers in case the bolt is too long. So in this case, we want to check that because some bikes will have a protrusion where the threaded hole sticks all the way through the clamp. This bike does not. So it is possible this could bottom out before the bars get tight. So we need to verify that. We're going to set this piece on here. I'm not going to bother putting the bars in because I want to have no gap here, because if it doesn't bottom out with no gap, then I know for a fact it's not going to bottom out when there is 1/16 of an inch of a gap. So See if that threads all the way in and gets tight. It does. So that way when we put the bars in here and we have it gapped properly front and back, we know for a fact that it didn't bottom out in the clamp before fully tightening our handlebars. Alright, so we're going to do this one at a time, very carefully. And yes, it looks like our cables are going to reach and clear. And the spacer that they send is just a flat aluminum washer. It's probably 100 to 125 thousandths thick, which means it's 1/8 of an inch or less in thickness. Sorry if calling things out in thousandths of an inch bugs you, or it's something you're not that familiar with. I'm a machinist, so it's just easy for me to gauge it in thousandths of an inch. But it's less than or at 1/8 of an inch thick. Which doesn't really do a lot for you, depending on how early your bolt may bottom out. You could always grind some off the bottom. Now I'm going to leave this loose, and I'm going to go ahead and set my bars left to right based off the other clamp. So I can set the bottom half in place, and then I can look down the holes, and then I can, with it setting where it's going to set, I can see my two grooved marks, and I can see that my bars are shifted 1/8 of an inch or so to the left. 1/8 of an inch don't really matter, but between being somewhat OCD and a machinist, I feel like I've got to get it right. So that's eyeballed in the center, pretty dadgum close, less than 1/16 of an inch probably. They're snugged up enough I can let go of it, and we can get the other clamp installed. Now at this point, we can snug these down that I've got them in a adequate position. I may rotate them just a fuzz up. And then you want to check your gaps. My gap is currently even, more or less, on both. So we will go 1/4 of a turn, 1/4 of a turn, 1/4 of a turn, 1/4 of a turn. We'll keep doing that until we get this one clamp pretty snug, and then we will double check our gap again after it is snugged down. Repeat with the other side. Right now, it's time to bring out the torque wrench. These call for 18 foot-pounds. That's not like crazy overzealous, but you are going into aluminum, so you need to be careful. So I'm going to make a executive decision to go with 15 foot-pounds. We don't go off or broke on one. We continue to do our star pattern, or alternate in this case, not a star pattern, until we get the click. Click. And repeat. Okay, I went ahead off camera and I got the end of the throttle tube cut. Now, if your throttle tube is solid on the end like mine was, it had a small hole in the middle, but you need to, it'll only slide on so far because it's should have got a picture of it, but it's got a solid piece here on the end. So that's no good, because then when you put your bark buster on, you can put it on and space it out to where it'll work. But the problem is, if you have an accident and smash it against the end, then you can't twist your throttle. So you need to have the bare handlebars protruding through. Now, most people take a hacksaw and just cut the end of it off the bike, just the tube and the grip. But I wanted to keep as much of my, the width of my throttle as possible. So what I like to do is just take a sanding disc and sand the end down till the tube is flush with the bars. That way I don't lose any of my throttle tube, any more of it than I have to. Alright, here is the throttle side assembled, and let's see if it's going to fit the bend on these bars. So I left this piece just dangling loose, snug this up by hand, snug this piece up by hand. Alright, and that's our first problem, is to get the bark buster slid all the way on. Our lever is too long. So I'm going to pick it up above the lever, continue to slide it on in, just so we can see the fitment, and it's going to fit perfect so that the clamp is located on this, in between this bend and this weld up here for the crossbar. So it's going to be perfect. So I'm going to move the lever in, so I've got about a 1/4 inch of clearance as I pull the lever in and extend the lever all the way back out between the inside of the bark buster. That way if something happens and it bends a little bit, it may not hit the lever. So at least a 1/4 inch there. And then we will check the fitment again. Alright, now that we've got it hanging on there, and we've got the front brake lever up out of the way, we've got everything loose, so we can rotate it up into the position that we are hoping to achieve. And then we can slide forward and back on this piece to help. And what you're looking for is a ever so slightly downward tilt. Maybe just not more than, say, 10 degrees. And then what I'm going to do, I'm holding flush against the end of the bar here. I'll pick it up just a little higher than I want, because it's probably going to slip as I go to snug some of this down. And we're still not going to go completely tight with it, just somewhat snug. Alright, so now we've got both guards installed. I've got these 2 bolts on the front. I've got them torqued to 10 foot-pounds. The 4 bolts that make up the clamps on the bars also torqued to 10. No Loctite on them. I did put Loctite on these front 2 because they're just threaded straight into aluminum. The 4 bar clamp bolts, excuse the dog barking, the 4 bar clamp bolts go into some nylon lock nuts. Lost my mind there for a second. So no Loctite on them, and then no Loctite on the end of the bars. So just Loctite here, and then 10 foot-pounds, 10 foot-pounds, just on the end, just felt it. Alright, so here we are, about an hour later. Yeah, pretty easy install. Like I said, if I've done this a time or 2, so I kind of knew what to expect. But yeah, anyone can do this, very easy. Ergonomics, the bars are definitely up well away from their knees, which is what my goal was. And I'm happy with the hand guards, how they turned out, how they fit the stock bend of the bars. So yeah, this little project turned out good, and check back shortly as more parts arrive. We will get those installed, and hopefully BBR can come through with the suspension. after they overcome their issue with the fire. And yeah, we'll get this keep this build going.